Scott just made the point.
Jefferson seems to be a lot more secure, not just. General Electric, that huge seller of light bulbs, announced that by the end of the year, it will cease all production of compact fluorescent light bulbs. And I say, good riddance to those nasty, dangerous, short-lived, twisted-up little pieces of craptaculent junk. Oh, it felt good to say that. I'm Steve Green, this is Trifecta, and with me, of course, to wave a goodbye to a product so bad not even government mandates and subsidies could get people to love it, the incomparably well-lit Scott Ott and Bill Whittle. Gentlemen, here's a brief history of the world's crappiest light bulb. The spiral CFL bulb that we all know and hate was invented by GE in 1976, and they were such an obvious hit that GE never even bothered to build a plant to make any back then. Flash forward 20 years, the Chinese started making cheap knockoffs, but even those were too expensive and just too plain bad for anyone to buy. It took the U.S. Congress 10 years after that, led by Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid in 2007, to pass legislation practically mandating the things, plus the Obama administration's war on affordable energy, to get people to actually buy and install these yellow-green glowing misshapen hunks of excrement. And now, not even 10 years later, not even the Democrat-loving corporate welfare queens at General Electric will keep making these mercury-tainted turds. Scott? Is there maybe a larger lesson to be learned out of all this?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I have several major beefs with these bulbs, of course. One is that they don't fit in a lot of fixtures, and because they got that gigantic thing on the bottom of them that has something like a motor inside of it or something, and so you can't even put them in some little lamps and like fixtures that cling close to ceilings and stuff like that. The other thing is, it takes so incredibly long to come on that when we first got these in our bathroom, I was almost completely done shaving before I had full light, and I realized that I had actually shaved my wife by mistake. If it weren't for the Kindle device, I wouldn't be reading at all because the Kindle brings its own light, you know, because by the time you turn the light on, I set aside a half an hour to read the scriptures in the morning or something, and the light doesn't come up for a half an hour, so I wouldn't be able to do it on paper. Yeah, I think what this illustrates is that government can't do nothing, never. Anytime government tells you that it knows the right way and it knows it so well that it's going to force you to do it and literally wipe out an entire product category, you know it can't go well. If I had had some resources at the time, I would have stockpiled incandescent bulbs. And the other thing that we all miss, of course, is the fact that with a single 60-watt incandescent bulb that I used for reading in bed, I could heat my entire bedroom. And so now we're freezing to death in there.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I tried to be a good citizen. I really did. My wife and I, we installed more than $1,000 worth of these barely glowing things in our house. We tried dimmable ones in the living room ceiling cans, and even at $15 a pop, they all died in about half the time as a 50-cent incandescent floodlight. We finally got rid of the last of these waste byproducts of progressive ideology just a few weeks ago when I replaced the ones in our outdoor sconces. And I want you to look at this. I don't know if this will show up on little internet TV, but these bulbs that are supposed to last another 3 or 4 years, they were only used outdoors at night when the air was cool, and yet the plastic around that bulb, I don't know if that'll show up, the plastic around where it comes in, it's cracked, it's warped, it's yellowed, and I can't even throw these time bombs in the trash. I have to make a special trip to a recycling center that can handle dangerous waste. Bill, how did so much evil get packed into such a compact package?
Well, my definition of a good citizen is doing precisely the opposite of what these mercury-tainted T-words that get themselves elected to Washington tell me to do. I'm proud to say I've never bought one. I do not have one in my house or studio. I've never, ever bought one. They apparently banned 100-watt light bulbs, so what is the maximum that they can legally make? It's like 83 or something. So I went out and bought some of those. And I just refuse to buy them mostly for the same reason that Scotty mentioned. You know, by the time it comes up bright enough, you're done. You're ready to leave the room. They also put out a nasty light. Fluorescent lights are universally known among people who work in media or anything, that the kind of that flickering green, gross, nasty light, and these compact ones aren't much better. You know what they are, Steve? They're the laser discs of lighting, right? I mean, they're a technology that came in that was presumably better than what was before it, but were immediately, I mean, by the time they were on the market, they were immediately outclassed by the far superior LED bulbs. Now, just so you don't think I'm a complete Luddite, I love the LED bulbs. I have a series of lighting series called Hue, which is a series of LEDs that have 3 very bright different colors, and I can set the temperature of that light exactly the way I want it, including the brightness. Plus, since it's all controlled through the Wi-Fi network, I can have, they can simulate candles burning. They can simulate, sunrise. It turns from blue to orange. They're fantastic. I love them, and I use them for my Stratosphere Lounge show. I just dial up the temperature and I dial up the brightness with my little iPhone. So I think they're great. But yeah, good riddance to these miserable, poisonous, coiled. That's what somebody ought to do a flag. It ought to be a flag of like the little coiled compact fluorescent thing, and it says, "Don't tread on me," and then below that it says, "Because if you do, you'll get cancer."
I hesitated on LEDs, haven't been burned on this before, but I finally found ones that I love. They're called Warm Glow, and they're from Philips, I believe. And if you've got them on a dimmer, which I've got dimmers all over the house, they actually change color temperature. They warm up as they get dimmer, just like an incandescent bulb does, and they're great to use. All right, folks, I used to have these shrapnel-filled monuments to the ego of Nancy Pelosi lighting my garage, and they came on so slowly in cold weather that when I needed to get something out of there at night, I had to turn the lights on 5 minutes early so they would warm up enough for me to see what I was doing. So there's no energy savings. We spent all of that money on CFLs trying to save some money on our electrical bill. The savings never came. That was $1,000 of my dollars right into the pockets of big corporations like GE, thanks to those anti-big corporation hypocrites in the Democratic Party. But that's not the worst of it. CFLs produce ugly light that's bad for your health, and they cost you more money. And when they do burn out all too soon, they're a pain in the ass to dispose of. So here we have these progressives making your life just a little bit uglier and a little bit more difficult, and getting you to pay for the privilege of making them feel better about themselves. We've been had. Don't let it happen again. For BJTV, I'm Steve Green.